If you normally eat the worst at lunch at work because there's always pizza parties or people are going to stop by McDonald's and you're asking them to get you something, or y'all are going out to some bar and you're eating bar food for lunch every single day, start there. Start planning out that meal. Or if it's dinner and you're usually stopping by a fast food chain on the way home from work because you're starving and you don't have anything waiting for you at home, or you're popping in a microwave burrito or whatever it is, start there. Figure out what that one meal is going to be. And then as you get more comfortable doing this, you can plan more and more. When you plan your meals ahead of time, you are much more likely to make healthier choices.
Welcome to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast, where we help you live your best life while working on your health and fitness goals. We're here to make your journey fun and inspiring.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Better Body, Better Life podcast. I'm your host, Vince Sant, and today we are going to be diving into something that we've kind of talked about in the past, but I think will really help any of you out there who are struggling to lose, let's say, those first few pounds, or if you've made some progress, but you're not really happy with how fast it's happening, okay? Because the important thing to remember is that losing weight isn't just about what you eat, right? It's about also how you eat. And small changes in your eating habits can make a massive difference when it comes to speeding up weight loss or seeing consistent progress or seeing results, right? So today I'm going to break down 5 really simple eating habits that can help you lose weight faster without any crazy diets or crazy restrictions. And these are going to be tips that you can literally implement today so that you can start seeing results, hopefully literally this week. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to start with habit number 1, which is hydration. Okay. And I wanted to start with this one because first off, it's super simple. And second off, it's super important. Hydrating between meals is one of the best things that you could possibly do for so many different reasons. And I know you've probably heard it a million times that you need to drink more water. But here's the kicker. When you drink your water is just as important as how much water you drink. Okay. And drinking water between meals can be a game changer when it comes to avoiding snacking. Because a lot of the times when we're hungry, right, our bodies are actually confusing thirst for hunger. And so what happens is we end up eating when we're actually just thirsty. And there was actually a study published in the Journal of Obesity that found that people who drank water before meals ate fewer calories and lost more weight compared to those who didn't. So right there, that should at least tell you should at least try to drink more water between meals, because there's literally studies showing that if you do, you could lose more weight. And it's very easy to do, right? And so here's what I suggest. Set a reminder on your phone, and I'll do this sometimes myself when I'm struggling to get water. Usually I'm pretty good about it. I usually always have a shaker bottle right next to me. But if you struggle to drink water, which is generally going to be usually in the beginning, set a reminder on your phone to sip water about an hour before your meals. And so if you know that you have lunch at 12:30 at work, set a reminder at 11:30 and make sure that you are either, like what I will try to do is I'm a sipper throughout the day, yes, but when I want to get in a lot of water, I'll just chug like 12 ounces. And so I get that water down. Maybe that means that I'm going to be going to the bathroom a little bit later. And it's going to be like pretty sudden, but I'm okay with that because I'm drinking more water and it's going to help me reach my fitness goals. If you're trying to lose weight, I think you're okay with going to the bathroom a couple extra times. And what you might be surprised to see is how much it also helps to curb your cravings, especially mid-meal cravings, because I think that's when most people really struggle. Because like if you're following a diet and you're eating the meals that you're supposed to be eating, you generally can eat those meals at the times that you're supposed to eat your meals. Your breakfast, if you're having a healthy breakfast, good for you. If you're having a healthy lunch, good for you. Have a healthy dinner, good for you. It's the times in between those, which is where those cravings hit, which is where the hunger hits, that you really struggle because you don't have it planned out. If you have your main meals planned out, you don't have as much room for negotiation with yourself to act out or go off plan. But between those meals, when you don't have a plan in place and you're hungry and you're craving something, that's when you start snacking. That's when you start eating. And that's when it's so much more important to have that water so that you don't do that. And then it's also going to help you feel more full when you do eat those meals. And so this allows you to eat the right amounts of food without staying hungry. And then, yeah, like I said, when it's time to actually have those meals and it's time to sit down and eat, you're not going to be starving like you were before, which, like I said, will cause you to eat that meal and then probably eat even more on top of that, especially like the last meal of the day. I feel like that's when people kind of struggle with their eating the most. And so if you know that dinner is around 6, 7 p.m., when 5 o'clock rolls around, chug a bunch of water, because that dinner meal, hopefully you have it planned out. But if you don't, then that's even more difficult. But if you do have it planned out, it's after that dinner, which is where people struggle, whether it's immediately after or a couple hours after. And so anytime you know you're going to get hungry, and you can figure that out based on just trends in your life. And generally I've done episodes on this podcast before talking about like writing down when you get hungry and the level of that hunger. I think that's a super important tool that you can use. If you do that and you find that you're normally getting hungry between your breakfast and lunch, and then between your lunch and dinner, and then at, let's say, 9 p.m., well, okay, about an hour before that time usually hits, chug water. And it's going to make a massive difference. And because the other thing to remember, like, this is not about just finding ways to cut calories. We're still aiming for a good number of calories that's going to fuel your body properly. We're just trying to avoid snacking on the foods that don't help us reach our goals in between those meals that do help us reach those goals. So hydration, huge for helping you manage your appetite, manage cravings, manage binge eating. Okay. Habit number 2 is chew your food properly. And this is another big one that helps in many different ways. And I know it sounds kind of silly, sounds almost childish, sounds super basic. Your mom probably literally nagged you about it when you were a kid, but she was actually right, because there's actually real science behind it. Because when you chew your food thoroughly, you're doing 2 big things. First, you're giving your brain time to catch up with your stomach. Because fact of the matter is, it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to get the signal that you're full. So if you're shoving food down your throat and you're eating your entire meal in 5 minutes, you're likely to overeat because your brain doesn't even know what's happening yet. It takes time for it to catch up, so slow it down. Chew your food more. Second, chewing helps with digestion. It helps it go smoother, helps kickstart it, right? That's literally the first part of digestion, is breaking down food. And so the better you break down your food, the easier it is for your body to absorb all those nutrients. And that can obviously help with weight loss as well. And there's research to back this one up too. There was a study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that found that people who chewed their food more thoroughly ate fewer calories and felt fuller faster. So next time you sit down to eat, try chewing every single bite at least 20 times. Just make a number. If that's too many, maybe try 15. If that's not enough, try 25. Figure out a number of chews. And I know that sounds a little crazy, but just try it a couple times to see where you're at. Maybe even just take a mental note of how many times you actually do chew. And if you're only chewing like 5 times, you're probably eating way too fast. So double that number, triple that number, quadruple that number. Slow down how long it takes you to actually swallow a bite, chew more, and it's going to help you in multiple different ways. And it might feel a little weird at first, but just give it a shot. Because if losing weight is that important, you're going to be willing to try things like this. And it does work, and there's studies backing it up. And you'll probably start eating less, and you're probably going to start feeling more satisfied. And I say that because there's studies showing it. Okay. Now let's move on to habit number 3, which is, and this is one that I've talked about before, but I wanted to include again, eating mindfully. Okay. Because in today's world, it's very easy to fall into mindless eating, meaning you're eating lunch while you're answering emails, or you're snacking on chips or cookies or whatever in front of the TV without even thinking about it. The movie theaters just promote this more than anything else. They sell all these snacks to eat mindlessly while you watch their movies. The popcorn, the candies, the chips, the maybe it's hot dogs, whatever it is, the pretzels. They serve food so that you don't even think about eating it and that you think that it makes the movie more enjoyable. And I'm guilty of this too. Everybody does this occasionally, right? But when we're distracted, that's when it's much easier to overeat without even noticing it. And so mindful eating is all about paying attention to what you're eating and when you're eating it. And so if you're paying attention to what you're eating, what that means is you're really taking in the flavor. You're taking in the texture of the food. You're tuning in to, and this might sound weird, how your body feels as you eat these foods. Because studies show that practicing mindful eating can lead to significant weight loss. There was a study published in Appetite that found that people who practiced mindful eating were more likely to lose weight and keep it off because they ate more slowly and were better at recognizing when they were full. So that just goes to show when you're able to be aware of it, you're going to be able to make better decisions and you're going to get better results. And so a very easy way to start doing this, by the way, is just turn off the distractions, right? And I'm not saying you've got to turn off TV forever. You can never watch TV again. You can't be on your phone. You can't be on your laptop ever again, but not while you're eating. If you just focus on eating your food and then go back to whatever you were watching, then go back to scrolling through reels on your phone, watching a YouTube video on your computer, whatever it is, do it after. Don't just mindlessly eat while you're doing these things. Feed yourself the right habits, right? And once you do that, you're going to find that, oh, wow, I'm not eating as much anymore because before I wasn't even thinking about if you had a bag of chips and you're watching Yellowstone or whatever, you might go through that whole bag of chips without even realizing it. And it's not going to do anything to make you feel full. And you're going to have a ton of extra calories. Versus if you have your dinner and you want to watch your favorite TV show while you're having dinner, okay, what we're going to do instead is we're going to pause that. We're going to enjoy our dinner with maybe our significant other. We're actually going to live in real life for a second. We're going to enjoy that food. We're going to be mindful of that food. We're going to chew that food a little extra. We're going to help the digestion process. We're going to drink some water. And then once we're done with that, we're going to go, okay, you ready to start this episode up? We're going to press play, and then we're going to be done eating. What we're not going to do is play that episode while we eat dinner, and then we're going to scarf through that, not even thinking about any of it. We're still hungry after. We're going to go over to the pantry. We're going to grab a bag of chips, and we're going to crush those too. That's the difference. And so if we can avoid that, you can lose more weight. So take your time with it. And also another thing that you could try to do is like, I've heard this one when I was a kid, or maybe not a kid, younger, let's say 10 years ago. Putting your spoon or your fork down between meals it makes a massive difference, because it's just something as simple as that can help you slow down and appreciate every single bite of that meal. And you'll probably find it a lot easier to stop when you're satisfied rather than when the plate is actually empty. Because that's the other thing people need to accept. Just because you have all this food in front of you, if you're full, you don't have to eat it all. And I know there's cultures out there that even if there's more food left, you have to go back for seconds. You don't have to do that. When you're full, stop eating. Plain and simple. All right. And then habit number 4 is to plan your meals ahead of time. And this is an absolute game changer. If you're not currently planning your meals ahead of time, you are messing up. And I get it. You're busy, right? Life's stressful. And so it's usually probably easier to grab something quick when you're hungry or stop by that fast food line on the way home from work. But that often means that you're having fast food, like I said, or you're having junk food, or you're having a bunch of processed crap that you had to heat up in the microwave, and it's just not giving you any kind of nutrients or minerals, and it's not helping you feel full, and it's loaded in calories, which is definitely not helping your weight loss goals. When you plan your meals ahead of time, you are much more likely to make healthier choices and avoid those last minute unhealthy choices. And studies back this up as well. A lot of studies, actually. There was a study from the International Journal of Behavior, Nutrition, and Physical Activity that showed that people who planned their meals were more likely to stick to a healthy diet and saw better results with weight loss. So if you're struggling with those things, you're struggling with sticking to a diet and you're struggling with losing weight, maybe try it out. So set a time every single week that you're going to figure out what your meals are going to be. You're going to plan your week of meals, right? And you don't have to go overboard. I think people get a little overwhelmed thinking that they have to like sit down every single week, plan out their meals and the meal prep a ton of food, right? Start small. Start with what you can actually handle. What's realistic for you to actually start with? And then you build on top of that. And so maybe just plan your dinners at first or plan your lunches at work. Figure out what the low-hanging fruit is that you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Where do you eat the worst? Start there. If you normally eat the worst at lunch at work because there's always pizza parties or people are going to stop by McDonald's and you're asking them to get you something, or y'all are going out to some bar and you're eating bar food for lunch every single day, start there. Start planning out that meal. Or if it's dinner and you're usually stopping by a fast food chain on the way home from work because you're starving and you don't have anything waiting for you at home, or you're popping in a microwave burrito or whatever it is, start there. Figure out what that one meal is going to be. And then as you get more comfortable doing this, you can plan more and more. And then you can start making a grocery list. And you can start doing these little mini hauls at the grocery store so you're prepared for 2 meals a day. And then you can build up. And now all of a sudden, you're meal prepping for 2 meals every single day, every single week. And you have it planned out so that you do it on Sundays and Thursdays or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, you got into this pretty good routine where you have like 2 meals a day where you are a little bit more relaxed, but then 2 meals a day are mapped out. The goal here isn't to be perfect. The goal is to create a simple framework that helps you make healthier choices most of the time. You do not have to eat perfect all the time. Nobody eats perfect all the time. It's just not possible to eat perfect all the time. That's not a way to live. But if you can make some of those choices, like I love the 80-20 rule, which means 80% of the time you do what you're supposed to do, and then 20% of the time you live your life. But in the beginning, if 80-20 is too much and you need to start with 60-40, or maybe you need to start with 40-60, where 40% of the time you're doing what you're supposed to do, and 60% of the time you're doing what you've always done, that's okay. But next you want to build towards 50-50, and then you want to build towards 60-40, and then 70-30, and then 80-20. So building your way up gradually rather than just diving into the deep end head first. Dip your toe in the water, get in the shallow end, figure out how to swim first, and then go for it. Now we got the last one, habit number 5, which is another big one. This is one that they kind of teach you as a kid, but they teach you it wrong, which is balancing your plate. Okay. And I'm not talking about balancing it on a scale. I'm not talking about balancing it on your head, but I'm talking about creating a balanced mix of nutrients within your meals. A good rule of thumb is to make sure your plate has a little bit of everything. And I actually literally just saw a video on Instagram last night of a lady that we've actually worked with here before. And a video of her went viral, and I actually had a couple of my friends reposting it. And it was a video of her in her kitchen filming B-roll for a video. And it was her daughter, who's probably a teenager, standing right next to her watching her. She had ground beef. She was putting it in a little Tupperware container. She put some sweet potatoes on it. She was putting a little bit of vegetables, and she was talking to her daughter about the mix of foods that she was putting in there and why she was doing it. And so she talked about having her protein to make sure that she's hitting her protein. She talked about her protein having a higher fat intake, so she has her fat source. She talked about having her complex carbs, the sweet potatoes. She talked about having some veggies on there as well. And so she talked about having all these different food groups so that her daughter can obviously pick up on that. But it was awesome to see, because you need all of those food groups in pretty much every single meal. People get so caught up on not having carbs or not having fats, and they have this imbalance of the types of foods that they're eating, or they're not eating enough in general, or they're not eating enough protein, whatever it might be. They have no clue what they should actually be eating. They just go by what they heard from a friend 10 years ago, because fact of the matter is, protein helps keep you full. Protein helps maintain muscle, which is key when losing weight, because muscle is metabolically active. It's constantly working and burning calories. So you want muscle, and you want to maintain your muscle that you do have, and you want to build more on top of it. You want to be strong. You want also complex carbs. Complex carbs, you could also have a mix of simple and complex carbs. Simple carbs are going to digest fast, are going to give you immediate energy. Complex carbs are going to give you steady energy. Complex carbs are going to have fiber in them, which is going to help keep you full. It's going to help with digestion. And veggies are a great source of fiber. And they're also low calorie, but they're also nutrient dense. And so high fiber, low calorie, nutrient dense, try to get some of those every meal. Healthy fats. Healthy fats are absolutely crucial for burning fat. Not only do they help you absorb more nutrients from your food, but they also help keep you satisfied and help you burn fat. So you need to have all of these food groups for their individual reasons. But if you don't know what those individual reasons are, or you haven't heard that you're supposed to have these food groups at every single meal, then no wonder you haven't been having them every single meal. So now you know, okay? Make sure that you have a balanced plate. Next time you're building out your meal, try using what I like to call the plate method. Fill half your plate, maybe a quarter of your plate with veggies. And then you're going to fill a quarter with lean protein or maybe a fatty protein, and you're going to forget about the fats. And then you're going to fill a quarter with complex carbs. And then if you don't have a protein that's high in fats, you're going to add a little healthy fat, like some olive oil, some avocado. Or like I said, if you're having that fatty protein like steak or beef or bacon or something like that, then you got your fats taken care of. But this way, you're getting a balanced meal without having to really count calories or obsess over portion sizes. And I think that's a big, important thing to keep in mind here, is that when you're just making sure to include like a rough estimate of certain types of food on your plate, you don't have to count your calories. You're making healthier decisions. You're eating real food, which are going to be lower in calories because they're not processed. They don't have extra sodium in them. They're going to make you feel good. They're going to give you more energy. They're going to have you get rid of your brain fog. They're going to help maintain your muscle mass, help you burn fat. It's going to help in so many different areas of your life. But people get caught up in just the counting calories aspect. When, yes, I do think counting calories has its time and place and is very important if you're very serious about losing weight, or if you hit a plateau, there's a time and place where you absolutely must do it. Does everybody always have to do it? No. Because it's not realistic. If it's not realistic for you to count calories, then I don't want you counting calories. I would rather you just go with portion sizes and balancing your plate with the right types of foods. And then as you build those good habits, you build on top of that. And then maybe 6 months down the road of doing that, now you're ready to start counting calories a little bit. But if you do feel like this is a little too much for you to do, if you feel like maybe you need someone that can help you get there, we do have coaches that can help you build that plan, help hold you accountable, help make adjustments when needed so that you don't have to stress about anything. You don't have to guess about anything. They'll create a custom plan tailored to whatever your specific goals are, making sure that you get exactly what you need to be getting to get the best results possible. And so if you want to work with one of our coaches, they're ready to go. There should be a link somewhere around here below, above. Click the link or go to our website, vshred.com, and get one of our custom plans. And like I said, that's just going to be your accountability partner who's going to be there for you 24/7. Answer any questions that you have along the way. And yeah, that's where we get our happiest clients. That's where we get the best results. And you could be next. And so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, go ahead and check out our custom coaching. But that's all I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully, if you've ever struggled with your nutrition, with eating too much, with binge eating, with cravings, with eating between meals, with lack of planning, hopefully some of these tips helped you out. We have a ton of other episodes on the podcast as well. Make sure that you are going and checking those out. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I will talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of V-Shred's Better Body, Better Life podcast. Whether you're doing one of our programs, taking our supplements, or just doing things on your own, tune in every week for exclusive content with Vince, V-Shred trainers, and special guests as they share valuable tips around motivation, workouts, food, and living a healthier lifestyle. See you next time.